on, we have our first panel discussion, which is regulatory landscape and policy framework for software-defined vehicles in India. And today our moderator is Mr. Kamal Sood. He is the Senior Manager, EY-Parthenon. He is currently the Vice President with EY-Parthenon in the New Age Mobility Practice. He also has first-hand experience of launching new electric vehicle, connected and shared mobility services. Can we all give him a huge round of applause, everyone? Would like to invite you on the stage as well. Thank you. So let's invite our speakers for today. We have Mr. Bimal Tripathi, who is the Vice President, Tata Technologies. Mr. Bimal Tripathi is a Vice President at Tata Technologies with over 22 years of experience, and he is an expert in embedded software solutions. Can we give him a huge round of applause and welcome him on the stage, everyone? Next up, we have Mr. Manish Karle, who is the General Manager, ARAI India, software engineer who has been associated with ARAI for 21 years. Can we all give him a huge round of applause, everyone? Mr. Jay Gupta, who is the Head of Product Engineering, JLR, TBSI, Jaguar and Land Rover. He has 30 plus years of experience in automotive product engineering. A huge round of applause for him as well. Next up, we have Dr. Santhosh Reddy, Technical Officer, IIT Hyderabad, TiHAN, BTech and MTech in Electronic and Communication Engineering, JNTU Hyderabad, and PhD in Electrical, IIT Hyderabad. A huge round of applause for them, everyone. Next up, we have Mr. Srinivasa Prasad, MNN, Associate Director, Industry X, Accenture Advanced Technology, India. A huge round of applause for Mr. Srinivasa Prasad.
And I think it's a very exciting topic, to discuss today. And I think my colleague Praveen has already set the context, right? How to basically define the SDVs, and we are already on the journey, where the auto industry is using a lot of more softwares to, kind of make vehicles as well as also start selling the services along with it. I think one of the pillars to enable this SDV is also the regulations, right? Because in absence of regulation, the complexity which is going to be there in the vehicles, would be hard to manage. So I think this topic we are having today would be to discuss on the regulations. And we can start with Mr. Jay. Hi. So I think we can start with, explaining the current landscape, that, what are the key regulations across the globe as well as in India on the policy as well as SDVs. Yeah.
Thank you. So this regulation discussion, when I saw the topic, the first comment I had is that SDV itself is not a technology. It's an evolution, right? As Praveen was explaining, we had a car all along, right? And the regulations are basically defined keeping one thing in mind, that is standardization and safety. Those are the two things, so that when you have standardization, you can accept the systems, you can integrate the system in a flawless manner. That's how most of the standards evolved, including the communication standards like CAN, LIN, and so on and so forth. So those are the enablers. So even right now, whatever standardizations that you have is part of it. Then you talk about the connectivity. So then again, the thing that to keep in mind is the security, right? When you are sending the data up in the cloud, or the security of the car itself, it's very important that they are both secure. There are current regulations, for example, UNECE 155 for cybersecurity, or 156 for the software over the air, and there are ISO, 26262 for the safety, all the ASIL standards and so on. Those will continue to exist. The SDV isn't going to change any of that. So SDV in of itself is a concept. It is an evolution, from the standard car to more software-defined car. So from the hardware, we are migrating to more software-defined functions, features, and so on. So in of itself, SDV is not going to invite more regulations. What we need to do is that there are several enablers of the SDV that are going to play a vital role in making the SDV concept into fruition. These regulations which are hello, yeah, these policies which are there, what my expectation is from the government authorities or any policy makers for that matter is to not get into the way of regulating it. It should be in the way of assisting this technology revolution to happen, especially in India, where technology can play a vital role in kind of, it's a great leveler. Technology is a great leveler. And government should make sure that they don't hinder, but they assist in the regulation of all of these upcoming technologies to enable SDV to happen.
Right. I think while we are discussing the regulations, right, which can enable, Manish, if you can also throw a light bit on that, what are the potential challenges in setting up a effective kind of framework? I think there are a lot of regulations, but when it comes to regularly updating these regulations, and also maybe establishing a new framework, for certain countries, and also probably assimilating and integrating with different countries, right? So what are the potential challenges in that aspect?
Okay. Yeah. If you see existing regulation framework, it's quite set up framework. We have some features or components to be regulated. So when we talk about AEB at a say feature level or emission BS6 norms, so the framework is set, feature is introduced, and then regulation comes, and then we go into regulation part of it. But when we are talking about say SDV, Jay sir has explained that we are looking at complete paradigm change. So I think first challenge that we all need to solve is what to regulate. Whether we are still going to continue on the regulation on the feature wise, or it's going to be a pure software oriented or hardware. So I think the biggest challenge or first challenge that we all need to tackle is how to regulate and what to regulate. So for me, that will be the first challenge. And why I am saying that, if you look at the previous presentation, we are looking at entire different architecture point of view, the process point of view, and also the complete supply chain point of view. Today we have a very good set framework from the supply chain. You know who takes the responsibility of what, and who does go for the final regulation, and who has the responsibility of getting it regulated. So I think these are some key challenges for me that first need to be solved by all stakeholders.
So if you can just probably further elaborate, like you mentioned, that we need to identify what to be regulated, right? So if we go in the priority order, right? So what comes at the top in SDVs which needs to be regulated, and then probably bottom of the pyramid, where the regulations might not be that critical, and those at the bottom, it also gives a freedom to kind of innovate, and give some flexibility to OEs, to innovate.
Okay. I think Jay sir referenced couple of standards regarding cyber security and function safety. I think now you can see that with ADAS and the cyber security, now people are now talking more. These are two standards mainly regarding process. They are not talking about a specific feature. So what they are trying to do is, see, function safety as of today is not a regulation, it's just a guidance. Cyber security is being discussed in India from the regulation point of view. But these are more as a process. So I think that probably the SDV way could evolve. I'm not saying it will evolve, but could evolve through these process standards. Rather than having features, it could go into evaluation of having the process. So what probably we can do, we can settle it on, or probably debate and then zoom in into a process, and then probably go through that process route. So this will be like my.
Okay. Next, I think Mr. Bimal, right? So one of the key things is, although maybe Manish has already touched on it. So what should be the approach towards putting up these regulations? Like I also hinted that it should provide the right amount of regulation as well as also allow the flexibility to innovate, right? So what should be the approach when these central agencies kind of form these regulations? I mean, as per your experience, right? What are the areas of improvement which you see in the policy, right? In the current form of policy, and going forward, those areas of improvement can be incorporated, right? Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So, my view to these regulation topics can be a little bit boring, right? Means we keep on hearing, but I'll add some perspective to it. Okay, I give all of you a thought, okay, to ponder upon. So, we automotive industry standard, right? We are already deriving, couple of them from the 155, 156, right? Cyber security management system and software update. While this is happening, right, what I want you to think SDV, okay, in perspective of, let's take an example, a best example that you deal on a daily basis all through your life is the railway systems, right? So you have people booking tickets on the counter, you have people booking tickets on their mobile app, on their laptops. They are doing payment transactions, they are doing all kind of transactions parallelly. All the information systems are getting updated on the stations with approximately 15,000 trains being tracked, all the passenger data, everything, right? And to that also the software, the websites, upgrade, maintenance, everything is going on parallelly. Just imagine, right? Approximately 2.5 million people traveling every day across 150,000 kilometer track. How is it happening? How are the systems operating with each other? Interoperability, right? Think about it. So, how is cyber security maintained there? How is railway managing that? Are they managing it, or are they going to fortify it more? I think they recently partnered up with Claimers or something organization to beef up their cyber security because of this. Now just think in a similar perspective what you're dealing with here. People driving car, all the ADAS data going into the cloud, crunching, AI, ML, all the models getting updated, tweaked. More and more data that is being pushed into the cloud. The calibrations are happening, better calibrations are happening, better detectability is happening, right? People are buying services, right? People are buying insurance. At the same time, the payment gateways are enabled. So you see the similar analogy, right, to the railways. So, and India is the biggest market of auto industry, right? One of the world's biggest market. So you can imagine so many people doing so many transactions, so many cars putting up so much data into the cloud. So according to me, the regulations need to be added a little bit more on the interoperability side, not only on the car, on the cloud, right? And then you have digital twins which also do the software updates. What I call the last mile software, last mile software delivery is, let's put it in this way that, yeah, the cloud is good, the digital twin is going to get updated. When the car is in right condition, the software is going to get updated into the car. But if the software is related to some sensor which needs calibration after the update, then you have that one guy in the service center who will do that, right? How is that going to be managed, right? We can speak about, the software which is independent of the sensor is fine, it will get updated. But what about the dependency? How is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? What are the regulations that need to be around it? Software update, yes, it's easy to say we need to have a management system, we need to have but with microservices coming in, right, there are going to be so many smaller vendors. What is the frequency that you're going to update the softwares from them, right? Macro updates, micro updates, right? Then what is the cost of compliance you're going to give them, right? So according to me, means we still have a long way to go when we think in that perspective, don't think just car as a, of course, car is becoming 85%, 90% software now. But the things around it, the world around it, right? There are going to be payment gateway systems. There are going to be, some people are going to access something. Some people are sitting idle. Some of the cars are learning, sending data. Parallelly, those data is getting updated into machine learning to other cars to follow the same route, etc., etc. Right? So just I thought of putting that into your mind to see that yes, we have some regulations. India has started catching up from, I think, last couple of years. Automotive industry standard, BIS, they have started putting, I think, majority into last year 2023, and then this year also they have put something. But I think it will take another couple of years, when we look at this perspective, when we have to put regulations, how all the systems will interact with each other, right? And all this data will get together, etc., etc. So that is the perspective I wanted to put in a fun way. Just think about it, what regulations will be required additionally. Yeah, thank you.
I think we can go to the rest of the panel also, Mr. Srinivasa and Mr. Santhosh, right? And yeah, hear your point of views.
Okay. So we are developing complete stack as we are from research and academic background. So we are adapting to the Euro NCAP standards at this point for development, and for testing and validation we are using UNEC standards. So there it needs lot of changes when we are talking in terms of SDV or in terms of autonomous navigation. Lot of modifications, fine-tuning of those standards are required for traffic density in India and traffic conditions of India. So where we are also fine-tuning the algorithms according to the Indian standards. And recently we are also part of standard consortium of ADAS standards. So we are developing according to the Indian traffic scenarios. So we have a testing facility where we are validating our algorithms as per the standards. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So, regulation is a topic. If you start marinating on it, the liability that is attached to the regulation, it's huge. The concept of regulation, it's hard to digest, hard to implement, but the liability that is attached to these regulations that the auto industry as an OEM which scales up their development cycle, it's huge to humongous. So bringing all these regulations, if you talk about functional safety on ISO 26262, on QM2D aspects, or even the cybersecurity aspects of ISO 21434, on CSMS and SUMS aspects that my colleagues has addressed. These are not regulations per se today in auto industry, but these are all the regulations which are as a guidance today for the OEMs. So what I say and see that regulations has to be there as a governing principles on the development cycle. Either when you start on the engineering principles to start with MISRA guidelines on the development cycle, or when you talk about the safety aspects, the functional aspects, or even on the data aspects, right? When you put data to the cloud, who is owning this data? This is my personalized data, and somebody has to regulate it. And same way the OEM pushes the updates, there is always a vulnerability that is attached to it. So who is going to govern this? So these are sort of governing principles that also has to get into this regulatory aspects, which I see probably in the coming week and months and decades. It's going to evolve as the SDV life cycle and journey starts to evolve. Today, SDV starts at L0, which is not connected, but this is something that at the IVI level today on the vehicle. But the moment it starts getting evolved on L1, which is more on the defining the hardware, because SDV per se, hardware-defined vehicle, but the sophistication is coming through software. So that sophistication to be leveraged across the development platform. So I believe regulation plays a very important role. Today, the regulations that are there, wherein there is a consortium that's been formed by Government of India last year on the AAS standards, which our co-panelists were also mentioning. I think these has to evolve by time, and as and when this SDV starts maturing, the scalability, adaptability will also get integrated to the development cycle. That's my view on the regulations.
Okay. And probably since we have a good mix of panel here, right? We have people from academia, from industry, and also from the regulation body, right? So one last point I think we should, I just wanted to touch upon is the, so as per all of you, you know, how we are doing in terms of collaboration in industry, academia, you know, and the regulatory bodies to define the next, I mean, this journey of, you know, putting the right policy framework, right? Is it on path, or is it like, do we see areas of improvement, opportunities for improvement? I mean, because generally India is behind the Europe, right, or other advanced markets. How we can really accelerate, you know, where we can, you know, be at the forefront, you know, any views on that? Mr. Tripathi, if we can start from you, I mean, on this, yeah.
So right now we have the Ministry of Transportation, right, working alongside with BIS and then ARAI to form all the regulations and you know, test methodologies and etc. etc. What I would request to the current regulating authority is to form, or you know, within the group maybe a special committee who can look at all the aspects. Like I said, it's not only about the car now, right? It's about the infrastructure. It's about the security is not now left to on the car security or IT security. It has become a mix. You know, everything needs to be secured. Your data needs to be secured. Your model needs to be secured. How does the software update happen? Like I said, mentioned, you know, the if the sensor is calibrated, right? When does the digital twin get updated? Right, reverse. So then only it can start again building other things. So they should form a committee mix of people who understand all this and brainstorm together, and then maybe start with small hooks in places and build upon that. And it will take time. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It will take another 2-3 years to, you know, have a basic framework which will then discuss all this. So that is my view.
From ARI point of view, the point I would like to make is this entire regulation formation is an inclusive process where we look from the inputs from, say, OEMs to tier 1 suppliers to research institutes. So we have this AISC framework setup already established. So if there is an interest, particularly from, say, SDV or particularly from software point of view, you can always approach to ARI. We can form these informal groups. Their mechanism already exists. It's not that, you know, we need to come up with a regulation in 3 or 5 years, but at least to kickstart the information exchange, that kind of informal group can be established, and this will be huge interest to ARI management also. Parallelly, we have also started our own research in ADAS from Indian perspective. So we are now gathering actual Indian road data. So just typical my marketing. So we already have around 25,000 kilometers of real-time traffic data. So idea is to use that data and get some insights from India-specific point of view. Because all these SDVs, finally they have to run on Indian roads with our own traffic conditions, with our own drivers behind those vehicles. So this is one aspect that we are hugely interested in ARA. And we are open to work with industry, their suppliers, and the academia. And I think one point I will like to bring here is that, you know, at least in between, technically we should be very open to each other. Please, we being a regulator authority, we are also with you from the development point of view. And when we talk about the complexity coming into the software and hardware point of view, I think one panelist, I think sir, touched upon the interoperability. It also means that open interfaces needs to be built, and which needs to get accepted within industry and their suppliers. And that will be one crucial aspect. And something like ARI or a good R&D institute can play a center role behind this. And that's the point I would like to make.
So one of the things that I always have in mind is that India is a very complex country, right? And when we were setting up the teams for the autonomous, we set up a team, a very large team in India, in Jaguar Land Rover, because if you can drive a car on Indian roads, pretty much you have achieved all kind of levels, level 5 or so on, right? So we can't underestimate, what is required in India. If you met all of those requirements, I think you will have cleared all the other complexities in any other countries. So for us, actually, we always obviously have to follow, JLR being a global company, we need to follow the laws of the land. So India has got a different emission norms, for example. So we'll have to follow that. Even if you have to follow the Euro standards or US standards or what have you, we also need to follow the law of the land. So we are also very open to collaborating with any authorities, whether it's government or quasi-government bodies. With regards to the automotive research, we also collaborate with the institutes very closely, around the world to make sure that whatever we develop, we also give back to the community. That is very important. So when it comes to the regulation, our role as a company is also to make sure that we distribute the knowledge, and we need to have an ecosystem. So SDV, as our esteemed co-panelists also mentioned, it's about the ecosystem. The car is the internet of things. It's a device in that, and we can't forget that car is not one isolated piece of device. So it's everything, full ecosystem. The safety, the security, the emission, the sustainability, all of these things are very correlated. And whatever regulations come in the future, they need to take care of everything, right? The car cannot be just on of itself like it's one device, but we need to take care of the society at large. So any regulations, policy framework need to make sure that from the time the car is being developed to the point actually when the car is going back to the ground, we need to make sure that it is all in one ecosystem, safe, secure, and sustainable.
So already one of the panel member was mentioning about already we are part of ARAI partnership with some of the regulatory framework consortiums on ADAS with OEMs also. So where we are partnered with testing of those ADAS features in our testing facility in TiHAN. We have a dedicated test tracks for testing autonomous vehicles, and we are very happy to be part of these consortiums, regulatory frameworks that is enabling us to do research towards the standards, not in the traditional way. So where we are validating our technology as per the standards, and we are very much open to the research as well as for the forming a groups to work on these kind of activities, majorly into SDV also. So recently we came up with some SDV architecture specific to Indian scenarios where we are implementing this like in-house cloud computing platform with sub-nodal cloud computing platforms which we deployed at 8 kilometers distance, and we were testing this in Hyderabad, and we are working on safety, redundancy, and latency of the algorithms, where we have a communication loss towards the connectivity of the vehicle, how the sensor data to be transmitted to the vehicle. So these kind of things we were working, and we were very much open to the industry to collaborate and to work on these problem statements. Thank you.
To bring into light of the question that you asked, how do we bring and bridge this governing body, right? I mean, that was the whole context. So basically, if you see, the today vehicle, it's from value proposition to value differentiation. But what SDV is trying to bring in is value innovation, right? It's bringing more value innovation, which has to be monetized. We don't know a kind of secret sauce which is attached to it. So we need to say how this value innovation will evolve over a period of time. To this, we need all ecosystem partners. It has to be from ARAI to start with, wherein they have this research institute. I have also closely worked in my previous associations with ARAI. They bring in a lot of thought leadership in it. They also bring in a lot of technical value addition to the governing body. And then it's all OEM who has to get integrated into this system, into this value chain. The ecosystem partners, the tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s, and also the ESP, the service engineers, providers, and also the research body. So I think it's a good heterogeneous mix of people that we are here. But now the thing is, who will own up to this, right? It's the government of India. Let's say any government of that particular continent has to own up to this. So this has to be taken up to the governing body, which is the MV Motor Vehicle Association today in India, I believe, who is defining the automotive industry standard guidelines. For example, let's say this AS 189 and 190, which is the CSMS part, which is the guidance that we have today. It's not a regulation. We have this Bharat NCAP, which is basically an adapted version from Euro NCAP. We don't have any guidelines on it, but OEMs are trying to pitch in onto it. So I think we need to get into this ecosystem conglomerate and then try to bring in some disciplines on this regulation aspects. That's my take.
No, thanks a lot. I think, do we have time for questions? You want? Okay. I think Mr. Bimal wants to make some remarks.
We'll have questions as next round. Just one last sentence to give it a thought how SDV is affecting the lives of the people. I'll tell you. SDV is 85% software. Now you're gathering all the people's data. You're doing cloud computing. Just a thought, okay? Where is this data stored? In the data centers in Iceland, melting ice and increasing global warming. So you can think how far the regulation can go if it starts going, right? Just a thought.
Thanks for that. Do we have time? No. Okay. I think we have run out of time. So probably, yeah, we can get it offline. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot for your participation. Yeah.
Thank you.